right, let's get started. It's almost 3 o'clock. So, hello everybody and good afternoon. What's a good time to talk about mobility? So today we're gonna cover mobility in general and NEOM. Basically, mobility at some point is starting to be part of our life. It could affect it in good way and also bad way. At the same time, it could make it easier and harder. So today, we're hosting a session that's gonna be live all the way from NEOM with the head of land mobility, Michel Ladrak. Welcome, Michel.
Thank you for having me and welcome to you all.
It's such an honor to host you today with us. We got the session fully with too many seats, and I don't think there's any even a place in the back.
Well, I'm honored, and it's my pleasure to be here and to hopefully we'll have a nice discussion in the next 30 minutes.
Thank you. So let's start with this. Could you please give us like overall about the vision of mobility in NEOM?
I can certainly do that. And just to give people an impression about what NEOM is about and what land mobility does. So land mobility is a little bit of it doesn't capture it all because we basically cover all forms of mobility. So it includes rail and metro and tramways. It includes urban mobility, which is everything on rubber tires. And then think about buses and coaches, autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, hydrogen buses, shuttles, micromobility. It includes ferries and water taxis and sea gliders. And it includes advanced air mobility as eVTOL and STOL. And everybody knows, and you said it already, is mobility is life. Without mobility, there's no economy, right? And ability gives access to opportunity. And that's our biggest aim, is to facilitate the success of NEOM by providing mobility solutions, transportation solutions that are sustainable and innovative, and that will really make a difference and exceed what people are expecting today. And that's important to us. And if you look at it, what we've done is we're basically challenging everything. So I often talk to my team and I tell them, what's your best experience? And then they explain me what their best experience is. And then I say, that's actually our starting point. Because, and it's actually my concern that we're at NEOM taking that as the ultimate, but we go beyond that, right? It's our starting point. Because when it comes to mobility, there's only two things I can offer. I can offer a good customer experience, and we can do that in all kinds of ways, right? By offering very nice modes of transport and finding the latest in the market and doing a lot around AI and the cognitive city. You might have heard of that. And the other one is around integration. So how do I make sure that people have a seamless journey in such a way that they've never seen it before? Because that's really what I'm doing. And in order to do so, we set a framework, but we also have specified a number of benchmarks. And one of them is that we have said it must be green. We must have zero emission cars, right? And that could be electric, it could be hydrogen, it could be anything that we have in the future. Green is super important to us. Because that's the future, right? And that's the world where the world is going. Secondly, we have said, if we can share mobility, then that's our preferred option. Because individual car ownership is hardly justifiable, right? And when you look at the youngest generations, you already see that people are much more comfortable sharing mobility. And it doesn't always mean that you can't drive a car, but when you drive a car, maybe we should share that car with others, right? And for instance, we have this car currently already. We're experimenting with a big fleet of electric vehicles that people can choose just to see how that would work for them, right? If they have to share a car. So shared is very important. Then thirdly, we look at if it could be active. So if you can reduce your journey time, that would be fantastic, right? So particularly when you look at the line, there's a big emphasis on micromobility and walking. And then fourthly, it all needs to be connected. Everybody hates waiting, right? I often say people don't like to wait and people don't like to rush, which means that if we bring all these different modes together, we need to make sure that it's absolutely a seamless experience. And we try to do this by looking at the different regions and see what they need. So if you, for instance, look at Trojena, which is our mountainous region, is what you see is that we're trying to use cable cars, also called ropeways, to integrate them and make them part of the public transport system. It's a very mountainous area, and so this seems to be the best way of doing it, right? And rather than afterthought or what you would see in a ski resort, it's much more like taking a bus or taking a tram, right? See it that way. It's like it's a cable tram,
Right.
in a sense. Right. But we've also introduced, for instance, the funicular at Trojena. And so we look at all these regions and we see what we can do.
Yeah, of course. As you know, innovation, it's part of the game, and we care about it a lot in NEOM. So how do you think it's playing significant role in our mobility?
So here at NEOM, we say that we're also, firstly, we're open to all kinds of innovation, right? In that sense, we're a sandbox. If you have a great idea and it helps us to provide a better product, then we're more than willing to get you here and try and experiment, right? And we've done several things. Now, when it comes to mobility, a lot is still very much fixed, right? So if you look at what we're currently doing, it's electrifying all our fleets, and I think we're 99% there. And the second one is automation. And I think the world is, when you look at robo-taxis and automatic trams and automatic railways, that's all evolving, and that will have a good level of maturity in the next 5 to 10 years. And by the time we're fully there to adopt these technologies, right? Then you also look at like digitalization. So what we're aiming for is that all these modes that we operate across NEOM and within the regions, that they are digitally connected. And basically make sure that all of these talk to each other so that we can always optimize depending on demand and individual requirements. And AI comes with that too, right? Because at some point, AI will help us and help you, guide you through the system in the most comfortable way, in the way that suits you best. But we're also doing other things. We're talking to sea gliders. Sea gliders is a kind of airplane, between an airplane and a ferry, that can achieve high speeds and really limit travel times between destinations, and particularly the islands. We're looking at eVTOL, which is electric vertical takeoff and landing. It's a new industry. It's a new kind of mobility. It's not yet been certified, but we think there's room within NEOM to have that kind of air transportation, right? And we're developing the vertiports that come with it and the whole infrastructure. So that's how we, and everybody who has a good idea, pods, for instance, right? Individual pods that are can be platooned in order to get people from A to B and give them an individual experience. Trailer drones to move freight. All these aspects are constantly being evaluated and assessed. We've assessed what's called Hyperloop. But at this moment, Hyperloop is not yet fit for purpose for passenger transport, right? So we've parked it a little bit, but when it becomes more mature, we're happy to adopt it.
Yeah, well said, well said. So sustainability, as you know, it's part of our NEOM values, and we care about it a lot. So what do you think about the sustainable technology that NEOM is aiming to use in terms of mobility? And do you think that would set a new standard for mobility as well, globally?
Well, the thing is, in a way, we have to, right? Because we all know that oil will be phased out. We just haven't agreed on how fast it will happen. So if it comes to sustainability, we need to go green. And NEOM, as far as I know, every sector, every region, every stakeholder has an obligation to find green solutions for what they're doing, right? And for us, it's the same. And we're already on our way. So if you look at, I said it before, if you look at our fleet, 99% of our fleet that we operate is already either electric or hydrogen, or we're experimenting with it. If you look where we're not quite there yet, for instance, we have a ferry that can carry 400 people. That's not yet battery powered, because it would mean that we would have double the size of the ferry and pack half the ferry with batteries. But I'm 100% sure that over time, when battery energy density of battery increases, then we can transform those larger ferries also into an electric ferry. Or we can use hydrogen. At the same time, what you see is that we go to shared mobility, right? Because shared, by definition, is a much greener solution. And we have to, because I don't know if the public is aware, But at NEOM, we've made a decision that only 5% of the land can be developed. And Land Mobility also manages all the roads within NEOM. And those roads take almost up 1% of that 5% that can be developed, which means that I can't increase my road network. So not only do I have to make sure that everything is green and that we preserve nature and that we create an environment that is healthy for people and sustainable, I also have to make sure that we don't use more capacity than we have. And for that reason, shared mobility and creating a shared service where we use our resources better is also part of the deal.
Yeah, well said. So, as you know, in NEOM, we do have 5 different projects, and each one of them may require different type of mobility. So, can we get example of a project that may require kind of a new type of mobility?
Well, I think that the line is probably the most interesting one, right? And the one that everybody wants to know about. Now, to be honest, I'm not responsible for the line, so I can't talk in detail about what the line itself looks like. But I can tell you something about how we see mobility within the line. And it's basically a 5-tiered system. And that's in itself interesting. So people who, I think most of you know the line, but the line is a vertical city. It's not a building, it's a vertical city, where the roads and the avenues and the boulevards are stacked on top of each other. And that has very particular challenges. The first one is, and we have certain levels. So firstly, we're very much focused on active mobility within the line. That means that everything can kind of be reached, everything that a person needs can kind of be reached within 5 minutes. So rather than having a 15-minute city, we have a 5-minute city. And that also explains the walkability around it. If you want to go a little bit further, then we rely on micromobility at this moment. And like scooters and maybe bikes, electric bikes. Then we have shuttles, and we have so short shuttles for about that go 800 meters up and down. And on top of that, we have automatic trams at height. So imagine that we have automated trams at 350 or 450 meters, because that's where our boulevards are. And then for mass transport, we have at the bottom of the line, we have a high-speed railway service. Now, the interesting part is that we have lifts. Because in order to get from one boulevard to the other, you need a lift or an elevator. And that elevator is actually not an elevator. That elevator is a vertical tram. Because if you would flatten down the line, right, you would basically have a grid of fast lifts and trams, metros, and trains, right? So I think the most innovative part of this is that we use lifts as a vertical tram to get people from A to B.
For sure, for sure. The line is, it's going to be always a story that we're dreaming and we're going to achieve, inshallah.
Yes.
So for now, I'm going to open the floor for a question.
Hi, great speech, great presentation. Ben Paczek, CEO of Nevomo. We've developed an autonomous, fully electrified railway system as a retrofit to conventional systems. This can be even upgraded to magnetic levitation after 2030 and to Hyperloop after 2035. And I wanted to ask about the role of this interoperability, interconnectivity between different systems, and also the challenges that you are facing within the rail, because you have very steep inclines, right? Especially between Oxagon and the logistics hubs next to the airport, and then towards the line. What's the approach to this? How do you plan to solve this? Do you think that conventional railway tech can manage, or this could be a place for more kind of innovative solutions? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your question. And to be honest, I'm glad to hear that you're developing these technologies, because we're always interested in it, right? In a sense, we are ambivalent to the technology, and that's one of the challenges that we face. Because this is a project that's going to last until 2050 and beyond, right? So one of the challenges that I have is that I make choices that are not restrictive in 30, 40 years from now. And that makes it such a super challenging and exciting time to be here, because basically we're the Victorians from the 1900s, and we need to make decisions that will last 100 years from now. So knowing about the technology that you just offered, that would be very interesting to us. When it comes to the line, it is very specific because you have the line, and then what we call is the railway service, what's called the spine. And it sits slightly next to the line, and it sits underground, which offers all kinds of opportunities, interesting challenges, right? Not least because if you want to go fast in the tunnel, you need to develop all kinds of technologies for that. With the incline, I think it's relatively, it's not that bad. So I don't think that incline at this moment is a concern. When it comes from, for instance, from the Octagon, because we don't want people in the line to see the railway service, we go underground quite far away from where the line is actually being erected. So we have quite some time to actually go to the level underneath the line where people will disembark into the central concourse of the hidden marina. So I think there's a possibility. When it comes to interoperability, well, that's a difficult question to answer because you asked me to be interoperable for technology that I don't quite understand. But when it comes to railway lines, I think, yes, we're open to it. We're open to assess technologies that might be useful in future. That's one of the reasons why we don't have railway services inside the line at height, because it's too restrictive. Whereas when you do it outside in the spine and you have your own environment, there's more to be done.
Of course, thank you.
Michel, Ravil Afzal, I'm the president and CEO of a water electrolysis company in Canada. And of course, we are always looking at market requirements. So thinking about your requirements, can you speak to what the electricity price is going to be in NEOM? And what type of hydrogen price per kilogram are you looking at? Or just giving us some understanding of your price elasticity when it comes to transportation applications? I know it's a pointed question. Let's see what you can do with it.
Very pointed question. And I'm probably not the right person to answer this question because I'm not into electricity, but I have done some market research. As you know, is that as far as I know, and I don't take this as the ENOA, which is our energy company's view, but see it as my view and my understanding of the world. So I might be off, and that's a disclaimer at this moment. But what I understand is that we are developing our own hydrogen industry. And ENOA is building the facilities right now within NEOM to create hydrogen for not only for Saudi Arabia, also for export. And we as Land Mobility are looking at hydrogen buses, particularly for those areas where the incline is quite steep. Because with battery-powered surfaces, we have two problems. Battery density, the energy density of the battery is not high enough to do steep mountains. And secondly, the temperature also affects the capacity of your battery. So we're looking at hydrogen for certain modes of transport, if it's the cleanest solution. Now, I was told that currently, I think the price in North America is around $30 a kilo, and going down to $18 a kilo. I think we can produce hydrogen. Eventually, we foresee that we can do hydrogen for less than $3 a kilo, which would make it very competitive. Because my understanding is that 1 kilo of hydrogen can get us about 100 kilometers of distance. So that makes a very good proposition. So we're aiming for $3 a kilo. But to be honest, there's a disclaimer because I don't know the latest and where NEOA is at this moment.
Of course. Any more questions? All right, then I would like to thank you again for being with us. It was a pleasure to have you here all the way from NEOM, and we actually can't wait to get back, of course, and get the progress going on again. I would like everybody for the attendance, and we'll see you, inshallah, next session.
Okay, thank you.